my little introduction. I'm very glad to have Wulf Losee as our feature. Wulf lives and works in the San Francisco Bay Area. His poems and short stories have appeared in journals such as After Happy Hour, Arsenic, Lobster, Burning Word Literary Journal, Crack the Spine, Diverse Voices Quarterly, Forge, Frig, Full Moon, The Griffin, Jelly Bucket, The New Guard, the North Coast Literary Review. I'm familiar with that one. Oak Square, Ox Mag, New South, Pennsylvania English, and Pyrene's Fountain. Also, Poet Talk magazine. That's another one that I'm very familiar with. And a number of others. He has been around. He is a skilled word artist, a man of thought, perspective, and considerations. He doesn't mince words. If I remember correctly, my mom used to say, "Don't mince words." He doesn't. He goes right to the point, and it's wonderful to hear what he has to say. So, all that said, and without further ado, I'm going to turn the mic to you.
Thank you for inviting me, Dan. It's kind of like I suspect this is my retirement reading. I was writing poetry pretty actively for 15 years, and then the muse just sort of left, and I haven't written anything in a while. But when you invited me, I was sort of had, well, maybe I don't want to, rah, 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 rah. But when I started looking through my poems, I'm like, well, yeah, I wrote some good shit now and then. So I thought I'd read some of it to you guys. And thank you again for having me. Okay. This is the first poem I ever wrote in that 15-year stint. It's when the muse gave me a lightning bolt in the head. It's called Breathe. I'll unfold the smile I save for strangers. It's weak enough to comfort them. Oh, masked in green gowns, psychopomps, bodhisattvas of the flatlined EKG, attend my final meditation. I'll brush away assistants. The voices of the doctors and technicians fade. Ignore the lights and the acid burn of the needles. Then will come the unraveling, the dizziness, the spinning, roaring, falling. Remember that last dry breath of oxygen. Remember, last breath, exhale. Let's cross the river here, you say, but you stumble on the cobbles. Your balance lost, you roll back sitting in the water, laughing as the current lifts you, reaching for my hand, your motions caught by a dragonfly landing on your wrist. You blow on it. Stubbornly, it trims its wings to your breath, and it will not leave until you throw it into flight. You splash me, I catch you. In the slow eternities of motion, we kiss. Exhale. Sunlight scattered through the icicles. First memories, these. How young was I? Wobbling on soft bone legs, I tried to grab them through the winter glass. Light will be my special toy to play with until the sun thaws and breaks their needles, and crystals skitter on the porch. I cannot reach them through the window. The voices of my parents sound further down the corridor each day. Will I laugh or will I cry? I'm not quite sure. Exhale. And to the student who dissects my corpse, what will you find with your scalpel that's sharpened like an angel's wing? Please search for my lost memories, hidden in the folds and stitchings of dead nerves. But will your hands tremble as you cut and probe? Will you pause before that last incision in my brain, gag on fumes of sour sweet formaldehyde, night blooming flowers of the dead? The scent of asphodel is painful to the living. Take a deep breath. Don't cough. Exhale. Ars Poetica. A pale arm rises from the marsh. Point up, presents a sword to the dreamer. The dreamer grasps the blade with both hands. Blood spreads in the bog, stirs unquiet thoughts among the bodies sleeping there. In springtime, a white flower falls from the cherry. It's caught in sap oozing from a cut. That clot of sap is buried in the fossil ground, becomes translucent stone that holds a five-pointed star in amber. Lost armies are buried in the orchard. They await their resurrection, recite their names 5 times as blind worms gnaw their marrow, becoming caterpillars marching on warm flesh, becoming dusty moths circling the light. We bind our thoughts to hieroglyphs of word, illusions that we create to trap the attentions of our reader's mind. Letters on the chalice skull, the ink is flame, because the spellbird that I sent become the spellbird that I send you. The egret arches forward, bows itself into flight, unfolds her wings above the reeds, pale trespass on the evening shore. Her feathers are floating flower petals, every wing beat an eternity. Feral prayers. A poet counts his syllables in the coffee shop. I wonder if he writes the 19 blessings of a standing prayer, or whether he writes the nonsense like the songs that Adam sang when God made him drunk in the garden. We are the feral children who never learned a language. We are the forest orphans searching for our first parents. We hear approaching voices and we halt, wide-eyed, almost understanding. My clenched fist aches as my fingers twitch. The pen vibrates. I feel the resistant scrunch of bone upon bone. Then the words of my hand come to an end. Ligaments and tendons dissolve. Digits and carpals tumble on the paper, falling on the 19th line. Crossing Dumbarton Bridge. 1. At summer's end, the blood-red algae bloom in the brine of Cargill salt ponds. The wild fennel yellows by the roadside. Ripe florets shiver with the swish of traffic. Wind buffets me through my driver's side window, jumbled stink of licorice and pond sludge. 2. The sun is a cathedral rose, shattered and collapsing. She drops her petals on the hills. The moon floats free from the ridge line. Its disk of ashen powders glows like a mirror in the sunset. The landing lights of jetliners attend her rising in the east. 3. On the 3 KGO antenna spikes, red warning lights pulse in and out of phase. Gulls roost on the sagging power lines, on the trellis bars of transmission towers. A snowy egret, its beak, a delicate antenna, wades into the vibrating dusk. Strobolus. Strobolus, noun. In botany, 1. The cone of a pine, fir, or other conifer. 2. A cone-like structure such as the flower of a hop. Strobolus. I asked you, what do we carry and what has been dropped? October was the opening cone of a conifer, unfolding spirals of shields, breathing a release. The hillsides were 6 months dry, bouquets of bunch grass bleached in the sun. New England eyes are adopted to moist air and the flaring intensities of maples. It took you a while to understand the California autumn. That first February, you thought I'd brought you to a stormy place. The El Nino rains fell for weeks and weeks, and the hills were achingly green. Summer came with May, and the sun baked the land. Then the sensuous hills turned gold, your senses opened to a new place. Autumn was a subtle change from summer, faint like the clicks of the Jerusalem crickets in the leaf mulch, a progression like the clouds that were billowing fuller. Pine cones fell on the dusty trails. Bald fists released their seeds. That first autumn I had a dream. The three heron ladies greeted you. Two of the sisters were perfectly white, and the third was slate blue. The blue sister spoke to you. In a still pool, in the dry creek by our house, a minnow swam away. I think you may have had the same dream. I asked you, what do we carry and what has been dropped? You were lost in your thoughts until the rains came again. Okay, this is a memory from childhood. The lightning storm. He looked forward to the big storms of summer. He could sense them brewing in the heat when the drone of cicada smothered the days and their chorus of timbrels cycled in and out of phase. The expanding volume of song at the hottest hours, then the pulse of dry lightning in the afternoon haze. Tomorrow, latest, the storms would come. The air thickened, the sky darkened, the summoning whistles of lifeguards ordered everyone from the lake, the hoots and protest of recalcitrant boys, the shrieks of knobby-kneed girls, sharper than the lifeguard whistles, all shuffle running in flip-flops to their cars. His mom urged him to hurry. Keep up! She remembered her lightning storms. The sky came to a simmer, pelted a few clumps of rain, hesitated, as if it were a car's ignition turning over, then over again, and the storm's engines kicked in, then to a full boil as the spray chased the car and wipers beat time, time, time to his heart. And his heart was a friend that sang in was a wild friend that sang in the ozone of frenzy. The boy was a little god sitting in the passenger seat. His thoughts leaped and jumped in a dance, a double bolt strike, then a triple strike, echoed under the cupped hands of the sky. Strobes of adrenaline lit up his blood, the overlapping lines of flash blindness, multiple exposures on his mind's camera that faded from his retinas under the waterfalls of rain. During a lull, his mother stopped at a dairy stand. The two of them ate ice cream while the parking lot steamed. At dusk, the sky cleared, the patter of dripping trees, the liquid rhythm of katydids and crickets as the rain gutters clucked and chuckled in the green night. And 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 they flowed into the rivers of his sleep. I lived in Hong Kong for a while. That was an experience. This is Money and Life on Castle Peak Road. A restless wind blows in from Lantau Island, full with the warm scent of approaching rain. Streaks of foam torn from the churn of waves chase the skipping air across the bay. The wind crests Castle Peak Road. It flails the plastic canvas of the market stalls. Vendors rush to fold billowing tarps that flap like mad sails and scatter their wares. An old woman peers at me from her stall. With cloudy-eyed calculation, she hopes I will be her last customer before the storm front scuds across the bay. Elder sister, the typhoon comes. I speak to her in badly toned Cantonese. She brushes me away in annoyance, and she belatedly begins to pack. She scolds her husband for his laziness, then turns to me and says, Mo Ching Mo Meng. No money, no life. Dismissing me, she spits the phlegm of ill fortune, and it's carried away on the wind. People quick march back to Sokwon Wat village, past the ship container yard, past the empty steel city that hums and rattles in anticipation of the storm. While Two Moons apartment towers flicker with the blue ghost lights of television, The people from the sea, the Haklo and Tanka, crowd their scows behind the seawall. Rain batters the taxi's windshield. The driver squints through the downpour. In the cab, the air is humid, still, and close. Torn, our breath fogs the nicotine film on the glass. Torn umbrellas, storm blooming lotus flowers clog the gutter drains. I see the old couple pushing their cart against the rain. They flinch from the white fan of spray. On the hills above Sok One Wat, the blown rain bathes the mortuary urns, washing the clay skins of old bones in the grottos of cement and cinder block. In the burial jars, wilted incense sticks, drowned offerings, rivulets slip from the glaze. They join into flows, carrying soot, oil, and dust out to sea. I, after living a while in China, I started trying to translate Chinese poetry. I got so fed up of reading the same poem that had been translated in English that seemed to have totally different meanings. So I decided, well, understand some Chinese and I understand the grammar. Let me see if I can translate them, see what they really say. And some of the times I found something really different from what other translators translated. But there's a great deal of flexibility in the Chinese language. So this was my first translation, and I realized that if I spread all the meanings, if I took each character had multiple meanings, and if I just spread out all the meanings for each character, it turned into a longer poem, but a more English style musical poem. This is called Disinterpreting Li Bai's Rising from Drunkenness on a Spring Day and Trying to Speak. And the title translated actually is Springtime, Joyful, Day, Sun, Drunk, Rising, Waking, to Speak, Aspiration, Will. To live, to dwell in a place, a spot on the age of the world's lifespan seems as if it were a vast, deep dream illusion, the what, why, how that handles and governs acts, and the toils of such that we are born, give birth, grow in the actuality of place, reality, according to, so as to end, finish the day in the sun, intoxicated, drunk decadent, balding, so correctly right. Thus we lie, lolling, slouching in front of the pillars, sleeping, awakening, thinking, feeling to come, to appear here, longing, hoping, into a courtyard, returning. One single bird, a fancy flower blossom, between each space, its song, its cry, its call, an excuse, a pretext to ask this and these to carry us through time, seasons, and hours. The springtime, joyful, youthful winds, news, styles, a flowing speech, the golden language of the oriole, to feel, to touch, affect, a part of him, her, it, with desire, longing, appetite, then to sigh, breathe, rest, oppose and answer, reply correctly, with liquor, once more again from oneself, collapse, pour out, grand, vast songs to stay, to delay, to clear the bright understanding of this moon, this month, this crooked tune, used up, exhausted, it stops. Then afterwards we forget, neglect, feeling, emotion, passion, or situation. And here's another translation. Most of the stuff that gets translated into English is the pretty stuff, but they wrote lots of political poetry too. And this poet in his old age started sounding sort of like a MAGA. But the title was so pretty that I thought it would be a pretty poem, but turned out to be a MAGA poem from 1200 years ago. Snow within a letter's heart. December snow is a foot thick. I get cranky shivering on the frozen mist. I'm in lonely city beside the big marsh, and the man has neglected my little fire. It smokes. Who can I complain to? I'm worried, hurt, and have no will to grasp with. The Son of Heaven cries out for a humane sage. Appoint a worthy person to be your minister, an expert in the worldly considerations of government. Few would have the character to take this on. The machinations of the court can be clearly seen. It takes endurance to preserve my restraint. If only this were a day in my great grandfather's time, rising again like the mythical phoenix with its flowered crest. People's abilities have rotted away. They've thrown out all that's proper. The northern palace is in the hands of evil obstructionists. I hear there's an army 300 miles away, but they're leaderless and breaking up to steal and rob, foraging like bandits. A minister of honest virtue would find a solution. Others deserve a slow flogging with bamboo canes. It's as if the Mongolians convened a committee to discuss how animals eat and lie down in their fur, and the affair takes place in a monastery's great hall. You know you're helpless, standing on the sidelines, waiting to step forward, but you're continually falling in regard, status, opportunities. These are worn out acts of longing in December. Liquor will level our mood. Do not delay. The spring awaits warmly inside a jar. Pour out another measure.
You want to do a concluding piece there for us? That'd be great.
Yeah.
All righty.
And this is the end of all and everything. I dreamed the end of all and everything, not a violent Armageddon. Instead, it was a movie scrolling through the credits, projected on the Milky Way. Pictures of every animal that had ever lived, a trillion names, the entire cast and crew scrolled by, and each name in the red-shifted acceleration fell away. And the narrator, who had the voice of my fourth grade teacher, Mrs. White, thanked us all and everyone for our participation. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Unmute. I'm going to stop the spotlight there and let them know. Let them
Great
say.
reading, Wulf.
Really
Perfect.
nice. Loved your
So-
translations.
Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful work. Great feature. Great
Thank you.
feature.
Thank you.